This is the Louis T. Network.
In the lab room.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. It is Wednesday. I love Wednesdays because I get to talk about my Pick'em Weekly from the week prior, and I get to talk about how I feel about the picks coming up in the next week, and I get to talk about the Soul Survivor. I love it. So let's get right to the proceedings this evening. First up, the Pick'em Weekly from week 3. I talked about how tough of a week it was going to be and how I was anxious to see how a lot of people fared. And I feel like a lot of people bit the dust in week 3. It was a tough week. I'm not going to sit here and try to act as if I was clean. I was not. I barely made it to that benchmark that I set for everyone, and I asked everyone to go out and get double digits. If you are who you say you are, if you are who you think you are, then go out and get double digits. And really, I was asking for 11-5, but I said, look, I'll take 10-6 because of how tough this week is. I'll take a 10-6, and that's exactly where I ended up. And I am not going to run from my 10-6. I accept it, I take it, and I will move on. I am not mad at 10-6. And this week, this was a wacky and weird week. A lot of come from behind victories. A lot of teams showed up that I did not expect to show up, and so some things happened in some games that I did not anticipate. And that was the type of week it was going to be. I could see that before the games were even played on the field. Just looking at the list of games and what I have seen from all of these teams thus far in 2013, I knew that there are a lot of games that could go either way. And some of those games didn't go in the favor that I was looking for. But again, does not matter. I still got my 10 wins. I still got my double digits. I'm not going to sit here and lament some other victories that I could have had. Let's talk about a couple of them that I did not get. Little disappointed in Minnesota. That's the first one that kind of jumped off the page at me. I expected them to go home opener, first home game of the season. You got the Cleveland Browns, 2 0-2 football teams going at it. I thought the Vikings were good enough to win at home versus the Browns. Now look, I've been talking about Josh Gordon, and you know how I feel about Josh Gordon. If you've been watching me, I've been talking about Josh Gordon. Even when he was suspended, I kept talking about how I couldn't really gauge this Cleveland Browns offense until he came back. Well, he came back, and he came back in a big way. 10 catches, over 140 yards receiving. He even ran the football, a couple of touchdowns, or at least one for sure. And this guy was everywhere, and he was a huge part of the reason why the Browns were able to win in Minnesota. That was a loss. Did not see that one coming. You look at another football game that, hey, look, I thought they could go in and get it done, and they simply did not. That is the Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens. Look, the Ravens had not impressed me up until this point. Neither had the Texans, and I said that, but I felt like the Texans at least were finding ways to win. And when you're finding ways to win, you remain confident as a football team. Well, the Ravens had nothing but the utmost disrespect for the Houston Texans. They go in, they smash them, they don't allow them to score a touchdown. I wasn't so much as surprised about them winning that football game because, again, I thought that could go either way. I was surprised at the way that they absolutely manhandled this Houston Texans football team. I don't know about this Texans team. I'm confused about these guys, especially when they're on the road, but doesn't matter. I lost that game as well. You look at another game, one that I probably was the most disappointed with throughout the games on Sunday was Sunday Night Football. I went out on a limb for the Steelers. I said, hey, they're 0-2. The Bears are 2-0. The Bears are going to come in and expect this Steelers team to lay down for them, and they're going to dominate. And I expect the Steelers to rise to the occasion and get it done and find a way to win in a season-turning, momentum-shifting type of game for the Steelers. Instead, the Steelers came out flat. Before you knew it, 24-3 in this football game. If not for a personal foul roughing the kicker penalty midway through the second quarter, the Steelers get blown out of this football game. Instead, they get that penalty. They go down, they score a touchdown. It's a different football game. They make it interesting through the Steelers, ultimately falling big time in this game to the Chicago Bears. And so that was a little disappointing. They went down 40-23, the Steelers, and so I had them winning, and I went out on a limb there and that cost me a game. I could have easily been 11-5 if I would have just went status quo there and said, hey, Bears are the better football team. They're playing better football. They're 2-0. Steelers are 0-2. I didn't want to do that. I paid for it. So that was probably the most disappointing loss that I had all weekend long. But you look at another game that could have went either way. It was family business. I said this much myself. I hate having to pick this game, but Bills, Jets. And I went with the lesser of two evils. I had to pick a rookie quarterback to get it done. I thought E.J. Manuel, who had looked unflappable to this point, was going to go into New York. And I was interested to see how he would perform on the road. This was his first road test. Hadn't been on the road yet as a starter. And so wanted to see how he would respond. And I got my answer. He responded very poorly. And he looked like the E.J. Manuel that I thought the Bills would be getting when they drafted him out of Florida State. Erratic, very uncomfortable in the pocket, garbage footwork, very inaccurate passer of the football. That's what I thought they would be getting. Instead, he's been everything but that, but he was everything that I thought he was going to be, and then some in this game, as he was nowhere close, and the Bills lose this football game. And so, I lost my fair share of games. I lost 6 in all, but not mad. I got to 10 wins. So now I am 33-15 on the season. Not bad. 18 games over 500. I could be a lot better. I expect to be better. This next week coming up, going to be another tough week. I thought that after week 3 was such a tough week, I said to myself, week 4 has to be a layup. They've got to give me a break here, and they didn't. They brought the thunder once again. Going to be another tough week. Can't wait to go through these games and give you my winners so I can talk about how well I think I'm going to fare. But tough week. It's over with now. I got my double digits. I'm okay with it. I'm moving on. Let's get to the main event on Wednesdays. Of course, that being the sole survivor of the week.
Everyone can pick, but only one can win. Are you
The Soul Survivor!
Okay, so here we are. Wednesday, week 4 coming up. And this is a tough week. Last week, it was hard to pick the games, but it was easy to pick a sole survivor because you had the Jags going into the Hawks' Nest to Seattle. That was an easy one. You had the Broncos hosting the Raiders. That was an easy one. So you had some picks at your disposal. But this week here, a lot of tough matchups. I don't even see one definitive easy sole survivor pick. So I'm not going to talk your head off. I'm going to get straight to the proceedings. You know how this works. It's fast-paced. It's in your face. It's the sole survivor of the week in the lab room style. Here we go. So we start off on Thursday Night Football. St. Louis Rams hosting the San Francisco 49ers. This Rams team gave the 49ers fits last year, and the 49ers are struggling with a capital S right now. They are searching for answers. They're banged up on defense. No Aldon Smith in this game. Possibly no Patrick Willis in this game. They could be in some serious trouble. You don't want to go near this one because of all the things I just mentioned, and I didn't even tell you that this is family business. So, I don't know about you. This one isn't for me. I'm going on. Baltimore at Buffalo. The Baltimore Ravens looked really impressive last week. The Buffalo Bills did not. But the Buffalo Bills have been a different team at home. The Baltimore Ravens have been a different team on the road. I'm not really sure about this one. I feel really uneasy about this one. If this was last year, I picked the Baltimore Ravens, and I don't even think twice about it. But this is a new season, new team, very, very suspect Ravens offense, very solid Bills defense. I don't know who's healthy. I don't know who's playing or not. All I'm saying to you essentially is don't do it. You don't have to. It's not necessary. I'm not. You shouldn't. I'm moving on. Arizona at Tampa Bay. Look, yikes. And we'll talk about this in the extra point, but there's been a quarterback change in Tampa Bay. You get a rookie in Mike Glennon. Oh, it's a home game. Oh, I don't know about this one. I really want to pick Arizona and just say the Cardinals are going to stick it to them, but I don't trust Arizona. I don't know what I'm getting. They're decimated on the defensive side. They've lost 3 linebackers that played an integral part for their football team. In 1 week, they're gone for the season, and so Arizona looks really sketchy right now. Tampa Bay, they've already been sketchy. They don't have a win to their name in 2013. This one stinks to high heavens. No. You look at Pittsburgh at Minnesota in London. Yuck and yuck. You got 0-3 versus 0-3. If you want to go near an 0-3 matchup between two teams that are searching for their first win over in London, if you want to do that, by all means, be my guest. I'll leave you to it by yourself, but I'm not even entertaining this one. Giants at Kansas City. We're talking 0-3 versus 3-0. On paper, this looks like a layup. The Giants are going into this game struggling, and they look bad. They look probably the worst of any of the 0-3 teams right now. I mean, the way they were manhandled in week 3 speaks volumes to where this team is right now, and it's not in a good place. Meanwhile, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're 3-0. Alex Smith playing efficient football. They're not turning it over. This defense is flying around, forcing turnovers, and they're scoring points. It seems like one that should be just a slam dunk. But I don't like to count the Giants out. For some reason, this game has me in the back of my mind saying the Giants might actually arrive in this game. Now, they might not win, but it's enough to scare you to the point where you're like, hey, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't feel good about it. And again, if you are in doubt, go without. And I'm going without on this one. I'm moving on to Indy at Jacksonville. This is the one everyone wants to pounce on this week. Everyone feels like, hey, this is a layup. This is a slam dunk. The Jacksonville Jaguars stink. And look, this is one of my favorite things to do. Follow the funky trail. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they got a funk trail just following them along early in this season. Just follow the funky trail and it leads you straight to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And man, do they stink. But at some point, these guys are going to get off the schneid. And last year, their first win came against, wait for it, the Indianapolis Colts. And guess what? Wait for it. This is family business. And when the Jacksonville Jaguars do finally decide to win a game, it's going to be within the division, it's going to be against a team that they know very well, and it's going to be at home. This is the perfect storm. Home, Indianapolis, divisional game, you know them. Blaine Gabbert is coming back, and Maurice Jones-Drew and this team have galvanized and rallied around Blaine Gabbert. They're going to play tough this week. I don't like this matchup. Even though the Colts has everyone drinking that aggressive Colts Kool-Aid, I'm not sold quite yet. This is a scary game. This is a trap game right here. Every hallway possibly could have a trap in it. Don't get trapped in it. I'm not getting trapped in this one. I'm staying clear of this one. This one, the trap has been set. There's cheese there, and that cheese looks good. But if you reach for it, the trap, it's gotcha. I won't let it get me. I'm moving on. This is a very, very dangerous game. Indeed. You look at Seattle at Houston. Look, two good football teams. 2-1 Houston hosting 3-0 Seattle. That right there tells you this isn't a game worth even picking nor entertaining. So guess what I'm going to do? Cincinnati at Cleveland. Family business. Family business. Family business. I'm staying out of it. Keeping my nose clean. This isn't my family business. I'm not sticking my nose in it. I'm moving right along. Even though Cincinnati is a better team than Cleveland, you throw the records out of the window when family business is being conducted, and that's exactly what's happening in this matchup. I'm moving on. Chicago at Detroit. I just talked about family business. Here's more family business. 2-1 Detroit hosting 3-0 Chicago. More family business. Two good teams playing good football right now. I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. So, Jets at Tennessee. Ding, 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 ding. This is your sole survivor pick for week 3. Now look, you look at this game and you say, hey, this is two 2-1 football teams, two dangerous football teams, two good defenses. What are you doing here? And I say, hey, all of those are valid points. Hear me out, okay? So far, all the games that I've went through, does any of those, with the exception of Jacksonville, Indy, which I don't like going near family business if I don't have to, does any of those games sound like winners to me? No. Okay. Number 2, are the Jets really that good? Are they really a 2-1 football team? Look, I know you are what your record says you are. Hey, I'm not going to argue with numbers. cold, hard facts. Numbers don't lie, okay? You can skew them to say what you want, but numbers don't lie. They're 2-1. I can't take that away from them. But I don't look at this Jets team as a 2-1 football team that's playing really good football. I look at this Jets team that has played some really bad football teams and won. They played a suspect Buffalo Bills team at home, they won. They played a suspect Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that hasn't won yet and won. They went on the road to New England and they almost won, but they lost. And Geno Smith played terribly. If this team is on the road, which they are in this game, and they're playing against a defense that can force turnovers, which they are in the Tennessee Titans, I expect Geno Smith to share the football, be generous. Sharing is caring, and Geno Smith is going to care a heck of a lot in this football game. This Tennessee Titans defense is really good. They get after the quarterback. They're going to force Geno Smith into some mistakes. They're not going to allow them to run the football the way they did last week versus the Buffalo Bills. And Jake Locker isn't turning the football over. You put all those things together, and that's a recipe for a Tennessee Titans victory. This is not family business. These are two teams that play each other. If the records reflect from the year before, they might play each other. But they played each other last year, and we saw the way the Jets threw up all over themselves, and Tennessee was able to come away with the victory. Look, this Jets defense is good. I expect them to pose some problems, but not enough to win this game. Give me the Tennessee Titans as the sole survivor pick in week 4. I'm moving on though, just so you can see that this here is going to be your best option. So we move on. Washington at Oakland. And yuck. Washington is your at 0-3. Oakland is your yuck at 1-2. Why would you go near this one? You couldn't pay me to go near this one. And the Redskins are my favorite team. And that shows you how much trust I have in them right now. So I'm moving on. You look at Philadelphia at Denver. Look, this isn't that bad of a pick. However, when you're dealing with explosive offenses, and I said this last week when I was talking Arizona, New Orleans, when you're dealing with two teams that can score 30 points, you don't want to pick that football game because you don't know which team, if not both, is going to decide to score a lot of points. And you don't know which team is going to decide to have 4 turnovers. Hey, it could happen. The Broncos could have one of those come to Jesus moments where they get smacked in the face with some holy water and they wake up and realize, wow, we were playing some really good football at a torrid pace. We got to slow down, and all of a sudden, they fumble the ball twice, Peyton throws 2 interceptions, and they lose a game 33-30. It could happen. This could be the week. I don't know if it is or not. I highly doubt it. But anytime there's any shred of reasonable doubt, you gotta leave it alone. And because of the fact that the Eagles can score, I gotta leave this one alone. So I'm going on to San Diego hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Look, the Cowboys are playing good football, but not good enough for me to feel comfortable picking them on the road against the San Diego Chargers team that can score points. I don't trust this game. I'm not picking this game. You can. I'm not. You shouldn't. I won't. I don't. I'm going on. So we go to Sunday night. 1-2 Atlanta hosting the 3-0 New England Patriots. Record-wise, if you don't know football, you look at this and you say, oh, the Patriots are going to win. If you know football, then you know this Patriots team hasn't played anybody worth mentioning yet. And they're on the road. And Atlanta isn't what their record reflects. This is a better team than 1-2. I expect the Falcons to play solid football in this game. And so, look, I can't pick this game. I can't pick this game because I don't know what Matt Ryan is going to show up. I don't know what Tom Brady is going to show up. I don't know. And when you don't know, it's time for you to go. So I end up at Monday night. Miami at New Orleans. 3-0 versus 3-0. Where's the psychological sense in this one? Okay? If you're thinking about picking this one, you need to wash your face. Okay? This isn't smart on any level. 2 3-0 football teams playing really good football, playing really good defense, getting good quarterbacking. Wow. So I go back to my original point. Tennessee at home versus the Jets. Your best option. Look, you don't have to take this one. because this one can be a little dicey. But of all the games that I've mentioned, outside of Jacksonville and Indy, what game is better? And again, I feel like a major upset is brewing in that Indy-Jacksonville game, so I'm not touching it. And honestly, I don't have the Indianapolis Colts at my disposal. I already used them this year, but I used them for a reason, because that was the only time I felt comfortable using them. You might feel comfortable pulling the trigger on them this week, but this is family business, and you know how I feel about family business. So the Tennessee Titans in Week 4 at home versus the Jets are
Soul Survivor!
That's right. And so that leads us to our touchdown. Go ahead. Throw it up. Let's tack on this quick extra point. Wow. Greg Schiano did it. I did not see this one coming quite yet. Can't say that I didn't see it coming, but I didn't see it coming in Week 4. I mean, that was a really quick hook. But I already said that Greg Schiano was not comfortable with Josh Freeman being his starting quarterback. I said it before, I'll say it again. He's never really given him that dreaded vote of confidence. He's never really been in the corner of Josh Freeman. Even when he said Josh Freeman was his quarterback in the offseason, it was half-hearted. It was like he was being forced to say that Josh Freeman was his quarterback, but he was never sold on Josh Freeman. And keep in mind, that wasn't his guy. He inherited Josh Freeman. He did not draft him like he did Mike Glennon. He was itching for Mike Glennon to get into the football game. And it seems like, and look, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I'm drawing my own inference here. It seems like Josh Freeman was sabotaged. You can say what you want, but if you watch these games and the way they unfolded and the way this offense has been ran and the way it's constructed, he was sabotaged. They did not want Josh Freeman to succeed. They wanted this football team to succeed, but it looks like Josh Freeman has been set up for failure, and they're 0-3, so who's going to get the blame? Of course, the quarterback is, not the offensive coordinator, not the head coach. But I think a lot of that blame needs to be displaced in other areas. I'm not here to discuss who's at fault here. All I know is that Greg Schiano pulled the trigger, and now Mike Glennon is your new starter in Tampa Bay. And look, you can't go back to Josh Freeman now. Once you take him out and he's no longer your starter, there's no going back. And so Josh Freeman is done in Tampa Bay. And forget about trading this guy, because he's not a proven commodity in this league. And so no one's going to give up what the Buccaneers are probably looking for in exchange for this guy. And everyone knows this guy is going to be a free agent at the end of the season. Not like he's under a 3-year deal. He's a free agent after the 2013 season. If you want him, you can get your hands on him then. Right now, I think the Bucs are stuck with him, and they've got to go on the rest of the season. And Greg Schiano has already said, from this point forward, we're moving on with Mike Glennon, which means through the good, the bad, and the ugly, Mike Glennon is your man in Tampa Bay. A very tough pill for me to swallow, because I think Josh Freeman was given a raw deal. But at the end of the day, it's time for Jay Free to be set free. So Jay Free has been set free. And maybe this isn't the worst thing for Josh Freeman. So that's the Wednesday edition of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Come back on Thursday when we break down the Thursday night game and look at how that game could impact this division moving forward. I'll see you on Thursday. And remember, if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back, join me tomorrow when I look at the Thursday night matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the St. Louis Rams. See you then. Have a good one.
While you're here, go ahead and sub up.
In the Lab Room.